Mi gente, welcome back to our YouTube channel. And today we have a brand new episode on Offroad with Alex Perez. And today we're gonna be learning about registration services. And we're also gonna have U&A Auto Registration and Insurance. We're gonna have Mrs. Alma and Ulysses Pedroza on our channel today. They have a very interesting story that we're all gonna be able to relate, but the most important part is they're gonna give us the ins and outs on registration services. So with that being said, let's get our YouTube channel started. Let's get this video rolling, let's go. Mi gente, welcome back to the YouTube channel. As you guys saw in the intro, we are gonna have a brand new episode, and today I am gonna share a great story with you guys because I have U&A Auto Registrations here with me today and Offroad with Alex Perez, and they're gonna share their story, which I might say is a very interesting story. But the most important part of this episode today is we are going to learn about the procedures and what to do if you want to do registration services, or if you're already doing it, how to take it to the next level. So I would like to introduce you guys to Mr. Ulysses Pedroza and Mrs. Alma Pedroza.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Good.
Great.
Excited?
I love off-roading, so
We
I'm
love
excited
it.
for this.
We love it. Just as much as you. Maybe a little bit more. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Well, you guys remember when we went to Big Bear and I almost died?
Oh, that's true.
I'll never forget that.
Dude, you're almost gonna roll over backwards and you're gonna hit me.
I have video. Yep.
That was pretty scary. So with that being said, guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. I already personally know you guys. So let's start off. Talk to me a little bit about who you guys are. You guys already know the channel. Introduce yourselves and talk to me a little bit about who you guys are individually.
Oh, I guess I'll start. My name's Ulises. I am 34 years old. Happily married for going for 13 years.
I like how he said that.
Yeah,
Happily married. He
happily
started saying
married.
happily married.
That's my wife back there, Alma. She'll introduce herself later. So yeah, a little bit about me. Just ordinary guy, you could say. Nothing too crazy about me. Just, running my business and just taking care of other stuff like normal people do. One thing I do like, it's a lot of technology. I do love playing with different systems. Yeah, I love using systems, figuring out how I could use them and implement them into my business, just to make everybody's life easier, right? My life and Alma's life easier, as the employees as well. So I love sports. I love football. Rams won, so I'm kind of happy. Local team, but I'm a Packers fan.
Packers fan, right?
Yeah. Kind of bummed out we lost to the Niners, but it's all right.
So what is your take on Rodgers?
Oh man, they gotta move on from him, man. They gotta
Went into a football conversation, Alma.
they gotta kick him to the curb.
Alma, talk to me a little bit about who Alma is.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess I'll give a little bit more background of myself. I think I would like to say that a lot of people don't know this about me, but I was born in Mexico. I was born in Baja California in San Felipe, and I lived there for 5 years of my life, and maybe it wasn't that much, but I think it definitely shaped me as a person, because life is very different over there. Children are very different over there. I was given a lot of freedom to roam, just to walk out of my house and explore and go fishing and go climbing and go to the neighbor's house and not have to be scared. And I definitely think that impacted me, right? But fast forwarding a little bit to high school, I really wanted to be a teacher, actually. I liked school. I enjoyed school. And I thought that I could be a good teacher because a lot of teachers impacted me in a good way, and I thought I could do the same for other people. But things didn't turn out that way, because as soon as I graduated high school, my family endured a lot of financial hardships, and my dad couldn't, be in the picture for us for a little bit, not because he didn't want to, but because he had to go to Mexico take care of some things. And so that made me and my mom had to step up and be the breadwinners. And, everything changed for us right there. I couldn't go to school that I wanted. I couldn't go to the career that I wanted. But actually that landed me in the industry and in the business that we're in today. So I think that sometimes things don't happen how you think they're going to happen, but you have to put your best foot forward and try to make the best out of it. And that's what we ended up doing. My mom and I, we didn't cry about our situation. We just did what we had to do, right? So I don't know how much more you want me to go into that story.
No, I mean, I like that. I like that you opened up a little bit of that.
Her story's all interesting compared to mine, that's for sure. I mean, I'm just an average guy,
All right. Ready, Hernan? Do a rewind.
So I just grew up in Maywood, with my brother and my parents. It was tough, that's for sure. We used to live in a garage, kind of like a half garage, half single. I remember my room was in the garage, so that's all I remember when growing up until like high school. We moved out, but yeah, I mean, in high school I played football. I thought I was gonna be able to go to college, but just life, it wasn't meant for me. So, I had to. So that kind of actually me desanimó un poquito. So in high school I did start kind of messing up a bit.
So your plans were to be an NFL. Like you wanted, that was your, I don't want to say passion, but that's something that you saw yourself doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was getting already scouted and offer letters for different universities, but it's just I couldn't go. So grades and other things that happened in my life that kind of shifted me to not be able to, how to do a different thing, right? How to take a different
Yeah, some
path.
boat incidents.
Yeah, so pretty much.
Inside joke.
And so high school was just kind of like over it, you could say. I wasn't like Alma that was very deep into school and I liked it. I didn't. But yeah, after high school, just got a job. My first job, I started working at La Barca, washing dishes and being a busboy. And then after that, I remember soon enough, I was able to go into UPS and I was all excited, right? Like, I work for a union, UPS. But man, that thing was tough, dude. Loading and unloading trailers, Jesus, that's a workout.
It is.
And then luckily, soon after, I was able to go into AutoZone. So those were the only 3 jobs I've had. And then after that, well, it's kind of like some things happened that I lost my job in AutoZone. And then at the same time, we were dating. So it kind of...
Let me stop you right there. How did you guys meet?
Oh, how we meet? We met in church, actually. And it's funny because we're both the same age, but we had never met each other before that. We're part of the same religion, but we used to go to different congregations. So...
We had a similar circle of friends, but we just never encountered each other, even though we should have. We met when we were, I think, 18, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, we already hit part of the actual trail where we're gonna go, so it's gonna get bumpy. I'm not gonna be able to air down, so it is gonna be a little bumpier than usual. So now that it's bumpy, let's talk about how you guys started what's now U&A, and we'll talk about Urban City. You guys don't come from that background of business, right? You wanted to be a teacher. You wanted to be a NFL player, play football. How did entrepreneurship crashed?
I think
Who started it?
I think Alma could explain this a little bit better.
Alma, enlighten me.
Yes. So, like you said, we don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. We don't come from a family who was really in a position to support us or give us money to start a business. Nor was it in our heart or in our desire to start the business, right? So how did we end up here? Honestly, it was pure necessity. It was 100% necessity because, like I explained earlier, when my mother and I had to become breadwinners, that's when we started in this industry, right? We started because we already had a family member who owned a DMV service and also a tax office. And so I learned from her. I worked for her for, I think it was about a year or two. And then my mom and I needed to do more. We just needed to make more money because we didn't have my dad around. So then after some time, when my dad came back into the picture from Mexico and he was able to start with us again and start working, obviously it's difficult to work with your parents, right? Because they have different views, you have different views. So what I decided to do is that I decided to, whatever clients we had gotten up until then in the DMV service, I decided to just let them handle that from then on. And I decided that I wanted to do my own thing, start from zero and see what I can do, because it was the best thing for them and it was the best thing for me. There was just not enough money there for all of us. And so
to be spread out.
Yeah, just spread
But
out.
how is it that your mindset said, I want to start? Obviously, you were working with your uncle, right, or another family member?
Yeah, I was working with my aunt.
Right. Okay. With that, and then how was that transition for you to want to do something all over again? Because most of us, as a human being, we hate the unknown, right? The what if, right? So how was your mentality? What got your mentality to be not to be afraid to start all over again?
Well, I can say that I'm a person that's not afraid of change. I've always been like that.
You've always been like that?
And probably it started from just having to adapt to change since I was little. Moving here, right? And then having to learn a new language and having to help my parents out at a young age and having to be different from everybody at school. And I've always felt like I had to change whether I wanted to or not. And so even to now, I'm a person that's constantly changing everything I do because I'm comfortable with it. So I can't really take credit for something that isn't already inside of me. I'm just the person that I'm okay with change, is what I'm trying to say. And at the time,
that's true. It's funny because I'm not good with change, but she is.
Yeah, I'm okay with change. I embrace it. And so at the time, it felt obvious that that was the right thing to do. The business with my aunt, she was already on her way out. She had other plans. She wasn't going to continue with her business. And so I had to think about, what am I going to do? And with my parents, they are hardworking people, and I knew that they were going to make the business work on their own because I believe in my parents. But I also knew that together, we were just going to have views that were way too different. So what made sense was that I had to start from zero clients, zero money, zero everything. But I was young, and I didn't have a lot of bills, and I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. So I could do it. I could do from zero. Them, on the other hand, they needed to already have what we had already started. Yeah, exactly. They had more responsibilities. They had to pay rent and the bills from the home. So that move made sense to me at the time, even though I was only 19 at the time.
Wow.
I still understood that that was the right thing to do.
So you did all this at 19 years old?
Mm-hmm. At 19.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because most of us don't start at that age. We're still trying to think about where to go party or
exactly.
I'm still trying to grow up, and you're over here already trying to build a business. That's awesome. Especially not having that background, right? That's awesome.
I don't think, looking back, I don't think I ever had a period in my life, in my adult life, since I graduated school, since 18 years old, that I was able to just do that, just think about hanging out or not having responsibilities. That's just the life I was dealt. I was dealt responsibilities at a young age. But I really thank my parents for teaching me that that's what life is like, and that you shouldn't feel sad for yourself because that's your situation. You should embrace it, and you should always focus on the good things, not the bad things. So I didn't feel sorry for myself that I had a lot of responsibilities at such a young age. I just felt like it is what it is. Let's just do it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's important because nowadays kids they're not focusing on their future. They're just trying to have their fun and what have you. If I can go back to getting out of high school, my life would be so much different now, right? Because now you actually think ahead, So I think that's pretty awesome that you share that, because even if you're not young, people are afraid to try, or they're afraid to what if it's gonna happen. Like, I'm very uncomfortable being uncomfortable, if that makes any sense. Or I'm very comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that doesn't just, I don't want to say that I naturally have it, but that's just who I am. So
honest, right? Not a lot of people have that. Like, I could say from my personal experience, I don't have that naturally, but I have to learn how to adapt to the changes. That's the key thing. If you don't have that, then you just have to learn how to adapt to it.
All right, so now talk to me when, so U&A got brought up, both of you come on board. I'm assuming you guys were sort of already dating when you guys were working together, or did you come into the field already, or because you said you were AutoZone, right?
Yeah, so we were dating, and then I lost my job at AutoZone. It's funny, it kind of happened at the same time that she decided to go on her own and leave their old business to her parents. So then I couldn't get a job, and she was already kind of like freelancing. So then she came up with the idea, well, why don't we just open an office ourselves? And and to me, well, I was young, right? And I was just like, well, yeah, let's do it. I didn't think it was gonna be that hard.
It won't be hard, they said.
Right, that's easy, they say. Start a business. It says, it'll be fun, you know? So kind of, I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Talk to me how that goes as a husband and wife, or starting a business together. Is it as rocky as this road?
It probably even rockier, dude, I think. This is easy compared to it, I think. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it was really tough, especially myself. I didn't come from a business background. Like, I never even thought of opening a business ever. It was tough to adapt to well, let's first start with how it started, right? So she said, let's start a business of what I do. I'm already doing it. And I'm like, yeah. So then it's funny how it happened. I think Alma knew this guy that owned a building in South Central, and he got in touch. She got in touch with him, or he got in touch with you. How was it? Do you remember?
Yes. He had been looking for me for a while because he used to be an old client. No, he just had a lot of cars, and he liked the way I took care of the registration for his cars, and he had been asking around. So he landed in my mom's office one day, and he was like, please give me her number. You know, I just want her to take care of my stuff. So my mom gave him our number. And he's the one who I mentioned to him that we wanted to open up an office, but, you know, we just had constraints. We didn't have a lot of money. We probably didn't have good credit, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, hey, I have a warehouse in South Central. There's an office inside of the warehouse. If you want it, it's yours. And we went, we looked at the warehouse, and it was an office. You had to go up like 3 flights of stairs to get up there.
So it's like a big old warehouse. So it's kind of where the manager's office was at, so you could see the whole operation. Yeah.
And he said, start paying me rent whenever you start making money.
All right. Took me 5 years.
Right. Well, actually, I didn't want to take advantage of him, so we asked our father-in-law if he can lend us $600. Ulysses' dad, he lent us $600, and we paid him that. We told him, here's $600. The stage where we're at right now is we knew we wanted to open up a business because he didn't have a job and I was freelancing, so it just made sense, right? And since this person gave us this opportunity, hey, it looked like gold to us, right? Nobody else was gonna give us that. So we took it, and we didn't think about all the negative things that came with it, like, oh, you don't have a storefront, nobody can see your office, you're in South Central. We didn't think about all that. We thought about, we have an office, we're young, we have energy, let's see what we can do. And we started every morning for about 1 or 2 hours. We would go to all the gas stations. We would go to the small shopping centers, hand out flyers, and just try and get customers, talk to people, tell them who we were, and try and get people in the door. And that's what we did. We did that for a really, really long time. That was our marketing strategy for years. And what's happened ever since is that a couple months later, we were able to move to the front of the warehouse. And then we were able to move across the street into a small little unit inside of a dealership. And then we moved a little bit, just like a minute up. And it was finally our own spot. You know, that was probably like 3 years into the business, we finally got a location that you would consider a regular business.
Like an actual front store type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, like an actual, you could say office.
An office in a small shopping center.
Yeah.
That's where we finally moved to.
Damn, those rugs were bad. You guys can see it on camera, but that was pretty darty.
It was. Yeah, this road is rocky for sure.
This is how their beginnings to get a front store were.
Yes.
It was.
Now, how was it that transition where obviously she was already doing registration services, and you weren't doing that? So how was that working as a couple for you to learn the system? Or did you guys bump heads? Was it, was there like Yuli?
A lot of times.
And how did you guys deal with that? Like, how was as a man, like, how did you deal with that?
It was hard, right? Because, and back then when we first started, we were still dating. But then once we opened the business, we got married a year after that. So kind of, when we were dating, it wasn't as bad because at the end of the day, we'll just go home, right? I'll go to my house, she goes to her house. So we kind of like have our break.
You breathe.
Yeah. But when we got married, now, we were all day together at work, and then we go home together. And you just can't leave work at work. It comes home with you, right? It's hard to divide, especially when you work with your spouse. So it was tough because I didn't know anything of the business, so pretty much I had to learn everything from her, right? She was the one that had the experience in it. But
te mandaban a casa y te mandaban al trabajo.
Pues casi, imagínate. No, hombre, ya.
Just kidding.
Ya me decían Superman, pero.
Oh.
But it was tough. But I guess what I would tell myself, if anybody else is in the situation, it's just, you gotta be humble. Like you gotta admit and be like, well, yeah, I don't know this business. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. So I gotta, listen and learn and try. If I have questions, ask the questions. And that's pretty much how I was able to kind of like learn the business. But definitely it was very stressful. And I could just imagine her, right? She was always frustrated. But
who was the first person that thought about, why are we doing this? Let's just go get a regular job.
Why are we doing this? I think me and my kids, because I couldn't get another job. And like Alma mentioned, it was more out of necessity, right?
So there was no buts or ifs. You guys knew that this is what we had to do.
We had to do it to, pay the overhead first of all. And then when we got married, now we had the overhead of the office and our home expenses. So we had to cover our rent, bills, food. So no teníamos otra. We had to write it out. I don't know if Alma wants to add anything else in here.
Yes, I think that I want to add that it was really, really tough not having any experience on how to teach somebody else. I assumed that by telling him once, that was enough.
That's why we have a rule in the office now.
Oh my
God.
Yes.
The number one rule in our office is never assume.
Yes. And it comes
Where
from
have
there.
I heard this before? I told you once, you should know all the time. Oh boy.
And of course, I was 19, 20 years old at the time.
We're 21, actually, 21.
By this time, we're 21?
Yeah. Yeah, we were 21 already.
So by this time, we're 21. You don't know anything at 21. You think you know, but you really don't.
Yeah, you think you have the world in your hands.
Exactly. And yeah, I didn't know what was the correct way to teach somebody. And when you're at 21, you let your emotions guide you. And so if I was frustrated, I would show my frustration. If I was happy, I would show my happiness. If I was angry, I would show my anger. And obviously that brought a lot of tension into our relationship. And I'm going to be honest, like, we both have always loved each other very much. And that has kept us together, along with a lot of support that we've had from other people. Other couples with more experience have taught us what is the right way to do things. But for those first 4 years, it was a lot of tension between us, definitely. A lot.
Fue por como dicen, misericordia de Dios that we made it.
And I see it a lot, right? Because obviously I known you because of my company, Sentry, and I deal with a lot of insurance brokers all the time. It's very rare that I see couples or marriages working together in a business. Normally they're all separated because it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not easy. It could be hard. So I applaud you guys for that. That you guys are still going strong. You guys are growing. I see you guys. succeeding, and I really like that. I've been seeing a little bit more of couples that are doing that, and I think that's like super cool, right? Because that's something like, for instance, on my personal life, I'm also doing with my wife, right? It's getting her to the next level, and it actually feels cool that you guys are putting things together and seeing it work, and como dicen, like, están viendo los frutos que cosecharon hace 4 o 5 años cuando estaban empezando,
No, yeah, definitely true. And it's a beautiful thing when, well, Mike is like, I'm pretty sure Alma feels the same. You kind of see each other start growing together, right? Developing as a professional, as a kind of like an expert in each field. So it's nice, and it's something that kind of keeps me motivated, because the more that I grow, the more that she's gonna grow, and vice versa. So we kind of push each other to grow more as the business necessities grow. So, and then when we go home now, we have learned how to kind of like leave work at work in a way.
Sorry.
No worries. So now we're able to, just go home and enjoy our time together. And yeah, it was a struggle in the beginning, but now, like you said, the fruits of all that hard work and sacrifice are paying off now,
Now, as a couple, how did you guys, on the business, right? You guys started doing the registration services. Obviously started, so she had the experience on the processing. How did you guys start to say, okay, we can get employees now, and who was able to say what role you guys are gonna take? How did you guys work that out? Because I think that's important for anybody that sees this video or that wants to do a business, or that a couple wants to start a business. How did you guys start delivering each other's roles, if you will? ¿Cómo se acoplaron? Because you said you like tech stuff, so how did you end up knowing that that's what your strong was gonna be in the company?
So I think it's more for people to understand. They have to understand how it was back then, right? Like, right now it's way different, especially in the reg service industry, than how it was 8 years ago or 6 years ago. It's completely different.
13 years ago.
13 years ago when we started, it's completely different. And Alma actually, she's the one that has a better memory than me, so she could tell you a little bit better how the story started.
Alma, enlighten me.
Yes, I do have better memory.
She does.
I think all women do. I'm not gonna lie. We had this conversation earlier.
Yes, we did. Well, you just said something that's the key right there, Alex. It's, when did you figure out the roles? Because for so many years, Ulysses and I were both doing everything, right? We were both helping the customers. We were both doing the paperwork. We were both answering the phone calls. We were both counting the money. We were both figuring out everything together. Both of our hands were in the same bucket, right? Going to DMV, both of us, everything together. And, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? And honestly, I think that was part of the frustration. So how did things change? Well, part of it was the frustration of it just not working. You get to a point where you just like, te hartas of fighting so hard every day, everything being so difficult. So you either give up or you find a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening to us is that the most clearest memory that I have is we went to an insurance convention, and a couple went on the stage, right? And they were talking about some of these same struggles. And that couple shared how they had to divide the roles and how they had to paint a line in between those roles. And hey, you don't come into my department, I don't come into your department. But in order to divide those roles, I had to get to know myself really well as a person to know what is going to be the departments that I'm going to be the best at. And he has to learn what he's good at. And that wasn't easy. At the time, we didn't know, hey, what are our true strengths? We were both kind of all doing the same thing. So we didn't take the time to say, what are our true strengths? So we took some time to do that. I had to really get to know myself, and he had to really get to know himself. And we started watching videos online about big corporations. How do they structure their businesses under what departments? And so naturally I started to say, I think I can do this part. He said, I think I can do this part. So when it came to technology, for sure, he's always been into technology. So he's like, that's my department for sure. Right?
So you didn't know what you were good at until like it clicked or what?
Yeah, until we were able to kind of like break down the business in different departments. That's the key right there, and I think a lot of people forget that. You know, it's a business is a whole bunch of parts working up together, right?
I just broke a shock.
Damn, no
I'm
way.
just kidding.
Like, oh, damn.
In the Alma?
And so we divided the business into about 7 different categories. And just so you know, we didn't fill in all the 7 categories ourselves. It also, by doing that, it also let us know which one I couldn't fill, which ones he couldn't fill, and which ones we had to hire out.
So that's how you guys started growing?
So that's how we started growing. I started focusing on the things that I was really good at. So remember how I said I wanted to be a teacher? Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny how that played out. I feel that I'm good with people. And so taking care of the team's necessities and building the team was going to be my department. And technology was going to be his department. Systems was going to be his department. Processes was going to be my department. Accounting was going to be my department. And there was a few other things that we had to hire out. So...
Sorry to cut you off, but you think that's kind of what made you guys like spread faster, or not spread, but like grow the company faster than if you would have kept doing it on your own? Do you think that had
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Without a doubt.
Because now you're focused on what you're gonna do, and you do it to the, you know, your best. You're 100% all the time. And well, it's like everything else, right? If you put in the work, it's gonna grow, right? So guess what? We started putting our efforts where we needed to put them, where we kind of hired ourselves again, you know? So we put now U&A, and now U&A hired me for this, and that, and they hired Alma for this, and that, and they hired this person for this, and that.
The reason why I say it is because, you know, obviously you guys, like I mentioned earlier, I deal with a lot of business owners, and sometimes they're afraid to do that, right? They want to be able to learn and do everything themselves, or they don't want to, they're afraid, right? And I think that's important, because what I've seen is when business owners do what you guys did, their growth, it's just so much faster, right? You would have taken 4 years versus now you did it in 2, but with less stress.
Yes, definitely. And, oh, go ahead, Alma.
I was going to say that in order to do that, there was some financial sacrifices we had to make, like living in a very small apartment for many, many years, in order for us to be able to put more money into staffing and to systems and invest money back into the business. So Ulysses and I had to have very, very basic standard of living in order to achieve that. So that's another thing that helped us catapult forward, right? That most of the earnings were going back into hiring talent and hiring the right people, and technology as well. So you can't do it while at the same time living a high standard of life.
Yeah, and I think that's one mistake a lot of business owners do. They get it going, right? And they start making money, and I mean, not to bash on anyone, but then they start just like buying like all this crazy expensive stuff, you know? And that's money that they could use to reinvest back into their business. And guess what? Now your business is gonna maybe give you a 30-40% return more, right? Because you're investing all that money back into it. So that's one thing I would tell people, especially the younger people that are trying to start their business. Don't go crazy once you start making money. Don't be buying expensive cars, expensive
Sometimes it
clothes,
gets
bags.
the best out of you.
Yeah, it does. And I get it, right? Especially when you don't have any money where we come from. You know, it's like, oh man, that's a lot of people use that as their goal to attain those things, but it's just shiny stuff that kind of distracts you from your main goal in a way. So if you're able to reinvest all that money that you would otherwise spend on that, you're gonna see a way bigger return in the future, that's for sure.
Well, now that you mentioned that topic, we jump into the second part of our episode, and this is where we're gonna talk about specifically business, right? Learn a little bit about what your strong is, which is registration services, which I think it's very interesting the way you guys have your office set up. So we're gonna go ahead and share and bring some knowledge, and hopefully somebody that views this, or sees this, I should say, can learn something a little bit from you guys. So you guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this. guys, so we're here at the trail, and one of the things that we didn't really talk about that I wanted to ask is how is it important, or what the difference maker was in your agency with you guys' staff?
Messing it up real bad at one point.
Very bad. We pretty much lost a lot of staff at the same time, I think in the same year. So it was kind of like a wake up call that, you know, there was something wrong.
What did you guys do different? Because once again, when I saw the teamwork, the dedication, and the passion, right? What did you guys do different that you guys got to this point?
Well, I think what we did was, instead of making ourselves the victim of what had just happened, we tried to analyze why it happened. Why were people unhappy? Why were people plotting to leave behind our backs and we never even found out? You know, why were we so disconnected from them that we didn't even realize what was happening? So we took that as a responsibility on ourselves to get to know our team better and to be able to be there for them early on before things got worse, and make them feel like they could always come to us. And if it ever didn't work out with someone, it wasn't gonna be because we didn't try our hardest. It was gonna be because it was just, you know, they were just trying to do something different with their lives, and that's okay. But at least it wasn't because we failed as business owners. And that's the biggest thing that we changed. We prioritized them.
So, very interesting. Well, let's dive into the rest, and let's get down to business. Ready?
All right.
Let's go. Y ahorita sopas. All right, guys. So, how do you guys like this view?
It's awesome.
Love it.
Love it.
Talk about getting out of the office, right?
I need a campfire and some whiskey.
You think customers would drive up here if we were to set up shop like right here?
Who else get these views? What podcast or YouTube channel gives you this with its views?
It's
I haven't
amazing.
seen one.
Well, this is the other part of our episodes with Offroad with Alex Perez, and let's get down to business. I had to say that. I don't know why. So one of the things that I think is very interesting about your guys' company is how you guys have system operations and how you guys delegate, right? So in the car, we were talking about how you guys had to figure out what were you good at, right? And implement everything else. So before we dive into that, what was the hardest part of starting U&A? And out of U&A, how was Urban City born?
Oh man, I think Alma can knock this one out of the park pretty good.
The hardest part about starting U&A was learning what is it that we don't even know we have to learn. Really, we didn't have a business plan. We didn't even like YouTube or have a business class or even think about, hey, what should you know about business? We kind of just went into it, and it was years before we even thought about it as a real business. So that was the hardest part, right? Was just overcoming obstacles that we weren't expecting, and we weren't expecting them because we didn't take the time to plan. So I'll definitely take responsibility for that. But you know, you learn. And so what we decided to do was that we were gonna get to know our customers really, really, really well. You know, what is it that they need and what is it that they're looking for besides auto registration? We knew that auto registration was something that we knew very, very well. We took the time to read the DMV manual, to go over any little procedure, to talk to managers, to call Sacramento, do all of our due diligence to know that really well. But then what else can we offer? And so insurance is a natural thing that comes with auto registration. Customers would always ask us, do you sell insurance? Do you sell insurance? We would send them out to other people, but it wasn't always working out, right? They weren't getting the same quality with other people than they were with us because they were our clients, so they weren't treated as good somewhere else. So naturally, we knew we had to add insurance into one of our services. And we decided to put a different name than U&A. And so we came up with Urban City Insurance because of where we're located. We're located in South Central, and that's where that came from.
Interesting. What ironic that I used to work down the street from you guys.
I know.
We were competitors back then.
Was it at the same time? Kind of?
Yeah. You guys were pretty much already there. You guys, how long have you guys been there for?
13 years. Going on 14.
I was down the street from you guys.
We didn't even know.
We didn't even know the world, how the world, works.
Yes. We keep it peaceful with our competitors, just so you know. So, I'm sure you didn't have problems with us.
Yeah, we're not dramatic.
Yeah, we're not. We're not trying to start problems with anyone.
So, let's talk about systems, right? Obviously, I've seen you guys' operations due to Sentry, right? We engaged with Sentry, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. About 2 years ago, even though it took me a year to get you guys on board. But it doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as you get it done. Exactly. And I noticed, obviously, being there with you guys, training your guys' agents, that you guys have systems in place, and there's a system for everything. And I think that's important because not a lot of business owners in this industry have, or they don't adopt systems very well, right? They see it as an expense. Talk to me a little bit about, Yuli, that you're the tech guy in U&A. Why is systems so important, and how has it made your life as a business owner better? What's the gravy on that?
Well, it kind of goes back to what I was mentioning earlier, that the reg service was completely different 13 years ago, right? Honestly, right now it's super easy to jump on board to do reg. There's a lot of third-party providers. But back then, what was happening was that there wasn't as many providers as there is now. It was tougher to get work out, right? DMV wasn't, just as friendly as what it's known for, It was still bad back then, and it's still pretty bad right now. And back then, it was our only stream of income, right? That was just the only service we would provide, registration service. And back then, if we had a good day, we would only get 5 jobs done. So we would only get paid for 5 jobs a day, right? At DMV. And if we would get lucky, 10 jobs, right? We got nos rayamos, como dicen. So it was tough. So we couldn't even go out there and get 100,000 customers because we weren't going to be able to push out their work. So what we had to do was kind of, just whatever systems came on, like if we had a problem arise, then, we knew we needed to get a system. But I guess where I wanted to start is more, when it was just us two, we were doing everything, but then we thought, well, how could we replicate ourselves, right? Well, obviously, we have to hire employees. So then we hire an employee. So now what does this employee need so that they could do my job as well, right? Or do what I am doing daily operations. And that's when you look for systems. I'll give you an example. So in our type of business, we do get a lot of walk-ins. Mm-hmm. And one of the problems that we were having was that customers were kind of getting into little arguments, right, in the office. So we had a manual sign-in sheet, but it was still kind of complicated because maybe customers walk in so they had to wait, so they had to go to their car, and then someone else comes in and says, oh, no, that's me. So it's just different problems coming with the actual wait list, you could say. So we need to find a system to correct that, right? So we found a system called CQ, where, you put it on the iPad, you put it in the front of the office, you train the customer that every time they come in, they check in, all you put is their name and what service they're here for, right? And that's it, they're checked in. And then in our computers, we see it, right? Oh, this customer's here for this. And it controls the order of the customers. So you find a system to fix a problem, right? And I guess that's how we kind of got more involved with systems. Plus, I like technology. For me, it's more like, what can I find to make it easier for us? In my case. But it benefits everyone, right? It benefits the clients and it benefits the company as well. So it's just a small example of why we started implementing systems to correct certain problems that were arising in the office. Then from there, right, an invoicing system. Obviously, nowadays is more popular, but back then it wasn't. And then also a third-party DMV system. And then, it's very important to have all your customer database in one place. And that's kind of like what Sentry does, right? You're able to have a track history of what you do with that customer, how many times you call them, text them, email them, what is it that you spoke about. So it's very important to have all that data in one place. So if people don't already do it, business owners, they should do it. It's a game changer just to be able to go back into your system and check a customer. Hey, I haven't seen this guy in a while. Why? Let me see, what was the last time we had contact with him? Guess what? Now you call him. Hey, well, you know, it's Ulysses from U&A. How's it going? I haven't seen you in a while. Last time you came in was this date.
It just allows you to do that. It allows you to do the follow-up more on point.
Personalized?
Yeah, more personalized, exactly. And when I was in you guys' office, I was very impressed on the communication that you guys have, because you guys pretty much know, everybody knows what's going on in the office without even assisting the customer because of the systems that you guys have in place.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that also, from the customer perspective, right? If you do business with a company that it's on top of your business, right? Then you're gonna feel like you're special as a customer. They know, they take care of me, they know what's going on with me. It's easy to make business with them, you know? That's kind of what we wanna do for our customers. We wanna make it easy for them to do business with us. And on the back end, we wanna make sure that we're organized, we know where everything is at for that customer, we know what is the status with that customer and the paperwork-wise with DMV. Did we contact them, hey, you're missing this? Or did you contact them, hey, you come pick it up? Or could we mail it to you? It's just, it makes the business elevate to the next level just by being organized that way.
Another question. You guys, I mean, in your office, I see that you guys have a lot of walk-ins, repeated customers. What do you guys do? What's your key to having that success as a front store with so many customers, you know, returning all the time?
Well, I think Alma could answer this.
Well, definitely, it's something that we're really proud of, because a lot of businesses tell us that they struggle with that. So I can say that one of the things that has helped us is systems. The way that it's helped us is because as we add more people to our team, systems help for everything to stay consistent. And so customers stay loyal to us because it might not be a familiar face, but everything they're being helped with is exactly the same. They're being charged exactly the same as last time. Not because they used to come with this person, they're getting a certain price, and a new person, now it's more expensive, right? Customers don't like that. They like to know what to expect, and they want to know what they're going to pay and what they're going to need, right? We're doing exactly what the DMV doesn't do, right? When you show up to the DMV, you don't know what they're going to ask you. You don't know if your transaction is going to get done. You don't know what you're going to pay. It's kind of like a scary thing, right? So systems help us to alleviate that from the customer. They can contact us before. We'll already tell them everything they need. We'll send them, either email them or text them already an estimate that they can bring in, present to anybody that's there, so the price will not change. Whatever agreement we had, it's already on file. There's notes. And so I think that that's one of the things that the reason why people trust us and they keep on coming back, because over the years we might have a bigger team, but the way that we were in the beginning is still stays the same. Yeah, and just with more people, and we're all kind of doing things the same way.
Consistency is the key to success.
Yes.
One of the keys to success.
Consistency for sure is very important.
I love it, and I you know, I saw it in your office. I see it when I go, and it's honestly it's very, very, very nice to see, because I see it every day. How do I get more customers? Or I see agencies struggling with it, and your guys don't have that struggle. So I applaud you guys for that. Obviously, you guys are doing things right, and you know, you guys are doing what others don't want to do, and that's the difference right there. You know, systems work. They're not a liability. They're an investment.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't know if people are going to be shocked by this, but in total, I was counting the other day, I think we have about 17 different systems. Now, not every employee uses all 17, right? Depending on what each employee does, different departments will use different systems. But it requires a lot, right? And we do invest a couple $1,000s every month, you know, the bill for all of these systems together. However, we didn't all add them at once, first of all. We added them as needed. And second of all, every time we've added a system, it's given us not double, more than double what we put into the system. So if your system is not being of value to you, it's not giving you more business, it's not giving you retention, then you're either not using the correct system or you're not using it to its full ability.
That is very, very true. Very, very true. As far as registration goes, what are the process in regards to getting into the business? What is it to look for? I'll tell you this. So a lot of agencies that I visit, they normally do your basic renewals, right? Your basic transfers. With you guys, I see that there's a lot more. You guys talk about ARPs, what are they called? IRPs. You guys do a whole bunch of stuff, right? And the reason why I say it is because when I go to your guys' office, I see different transactions and I hear different things, right? When we did the training for Century in Urban City. But how is it that you guys took it to the next level? What is that somebody that maybe is watching this episode and has the registration service office, what can they do to learn all these systems? And how did you guys do it? Because DMV doesn't teach you this, right?
No.
Sadly, no.
Well, I'll say that per transaction, registration services is not something that is highly profitable if you look at it per transaction, right? So keeping that in mind, you have to offer a lot of services if you want to be profitable. If you're just doing something that's a basic renewal or a basic transfer, it's going to be such tedious work that you might even end up feeling like it's not even worth it. So what we did, because in the beginning we only offered just registration services, we didn't offer insurance or trucking how we do now. So what I did is that I looked at my license and
What I did.
Oh, she did. And she did do this though.
Yes, I investigated into my license and I said, what does this allow me to do? What scope of work does this cover? And I realized that a registration service allows you to provide many, many, many services. Other than just your basic renewal or transfer, you can do lien sales, you can do anything related to trucking, you can dive really, really deep into boats, motorcycles, ATVs, pretty much anything with wheels or anything that floats. It's really, really, really broad, right? So why not take advantage of everything and really become an expert at what you're doing? If you're doing one thing, you should be the best at that one thing, right? So what is it going to take? It's going to take time, dedication, patience, really diving deep and getting your hands dirty, meaning like sometimes doing something for a cheap price just so that you can get the experience, just so you can learn it. Yeah, and then once you're good at it, now you can start charging a little bit more. So that's how we broadened our services, right? We really wanted to be the best at it. You can say, in my mind, the best at it. And having that mindset, you get to work.
What's your take on that?
That's tough, man. It's a lot of tedious work. So, if someone wants to go into the reg business, well, yeah, like you said, right, they just do it like a side business, side service to offer. Like, I'm already doing insurance or taxes. Well, I could renew my customers' tags or transfer, right? But it's kind of like what she was saying, that you really have to become an expert in it to grow. Right? So if you see it as it's just an extra perk I want to offer my customers, then that's all it's going to be. You're not going to make it grow, right? Because you don't know, a customer comes in with hard paperwork. Hey, I bought this car in out of state, but I lost the title and this and that and that. I mean, if you're offering the service, they're going to ask you this thinking you're an expert in that, industry, right? So it kind of hurts you in a way, right? When they come and they give you this hard transaction, you're like, dang, like I don't even know what the heck I'm looking at. So, I would suggest think about it twice. If you're really gonna offer the service, go all in. You have to, because that's the only way that you're gonna gain your customers' trust, for them to even trust you. If you could help, I see it this way: if you could help a customer solve a hard issue or a problem, they're gonna give you all their business, right? They're gonna trust you already because, he was able to help me with this and he offers this and this, I'm gonna get it from that same business. So it's kind of like a good way to get more customers coming into your office if you really take the reg service seriously, because a lot of people don't. But if you take it seriously and you become an expert in it, it's gonna help your business in a whole different level for sure. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and what Alma mentioned is that it's not highly profitable in the beginning. You're gonna do a lot of legwork, heavy lifting for a very small price.
Break that down for me a little bit more in regards to the actual profitable one versus the regular renewal. So the regular renewal, I come in, I do a registration. Obviously, you have to, the service fee, there has to be something, right? So break that down a little bit more for me.
Okay, so on a service renewal, maybe average $35, right? You charge for a service renewal service. So, you know, you also got to take into consideration the time you spent talking to the customer, right? To get them into your office. It could be whatever time. And then once the customer is in the office, you know, he processes the transaction, but then you have your expenses under that renewal, right? If you use a third party, you have the system provider fees, then you have your employee hourly fee, let's say, and then you have your expenses of when you pay to get the inventory shipped to your office. Plus, now that you processed it in your office, you got to ship it back to your third-party provider. So all those are expenses you have to take in consideration, where you're probably breaking even at the end of the day, right? Compare that to the other example I said of registering a car that filled out the DMV system. You know, it's gonna take a little bit more time to do it, but your profit margins, let's say for example, you could charge between $2 to $250 to do that type of transaction, but your profit margins are higher, right? So you have to take into consideration that if you wanna make money in the DMV industry, well, you got to get good at doing hard jobs, doing hard transactions, because your profit margins, although even if it will take you a day, because those you can't process in-house, you got to do them at DMV, but your profit margin is higher just for that one transaction, right? You compare it. Maybe like five or six renewals, you can make it off.
It's not as fast to do, but it's more profitable in the long run, right? So you got to do a little bit more digging, paperwork, forms or what have you. But obviously that's something that average Joe can go to the DMV, or even they could, but it's not going to be that easy to do, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Gotcha. For sure. One of the last questions that I have for you guys is, what is it required what are the steps to want to do registration services? What is it that you need to have?
Well, that's going to depend on what city you are going to be in. There are different regulations depending on the city, but first thing you got to do is you got to figure out who is the inspector in your area. You can do that you can call the 1-800 number, the DMV. You can go onto the website and it'll tell you there who's the inspector that belongs to your city or your area. And these are DMV inspectors. And you tell them you want to open up a reg service, and they're pretty helpful. They'll send you all the forms you need. They'll send you the packet that you need. And once you have your packet ready, it's going to have a bunch of forms. You're going to have to go to the city, get them stamped. You're going to need a bond. You're going to need a background check, fingerprints, and then you're going to submit it to this inspector. And obviously, you're dealing with the state here, so you have to have a clean record. They are going to do a background check on you. Your credit is going to affect that as well. But overall, honestly, it's not an impossible task. But I would say that's the easy part.
It's always the easiest part.
That's the easy part.
Even the BPA providers, they pretty much do all the paperwork for you too. So
yeah, if you want to go through a third party that is linked to the DMV, they can even do all of that for you.
No way.
Yeah, because you're going to end up being their customer.
Damn, I wish I knew that.
Yeah, so they can do it for you as well. Well, not do it for you, but they can kind of hold your hand throughout the process. Yeah.
When I had in my office, it was a pain in the where dealing with Covina.
Yes.
I didn't know somebody can do it for you, but
the actual beginning of it, someone can do it for you, but honestly, after that, you're on your own. You're not going to get a lot of help after that.
Nope. What is a good tip that you guys can say after your 13 years? For somebody to start on the right foot, if you will?
You have to, like Ulysses said, you have to take it as a serious business. You're doing yourself and the client a disservice if you want to treat it as, I'll just make an extra buck. And I'll tell you why. A lot of offices that do this, they process things without knowing what they're doing. And yeah, they might get the sticker and the registration there, but on the back end, once DMV receives the paperwork and they see the mistakes, they'll put holds on all these cars.
And then you can't.
So the next time you want to renew, that hold will be on there. And then people like us, you know, we have to make all kinds of phone calls and we have to do all kinds of corrections to do what somebody else did, right? So you're charging for a service without really knowing what you're doing, and you're hurting the client, you know, and you're not building a good reputation for your own business. So treat it like a real business, really inform yourself, read the manual, call the managers, read the manual. It sounds dorky, but you can't go wrong. That's why the manual's there.
Yeah,
and
true. I never read them.
A lot of people don't.
And it's easier not to access the manual online. They have it there.
So I would say that. I would say treat it like a real business. Invest into it. Educate yourself. And then also pass on that same mentality to whatever employee you're going to have there.
I think that's always key to any business. Pass on the knowledge so that, you know, you I always say make your mini-me's.
Mm-hmm. And the passion. But imagine if you don't have the passion, if you treat it like whatever, how is your employee going to treat it?
And that's completely true. I cannot agree with you more on that one. And lastly, personally, what advice or what would you give anybody that either is starting their business, gonna start a business, or anybody in general that can be watching our episode? What positive message would you guys have individually?
It's a tough one. Let me see. What positive message? Well, I mean, it's like we said, right? Going to business, they said it's fun. You know, I think nowadays everybody, thanks to social media, knows that it's hard to start a business. At least they kind of go into it knowing it's going to be a struggle. But, you know, one of the things is just stay focused in it. Don't let the shiny stuff distract you. That's my message, because if you let the shiny stuff distract you in the sense of like, oh yeah, once I start making money, I want to buy myself this and that and that and that and this and that, and you're kind of just squeezing your business out just for that, then your business is not going to go anywhere. You could probably maintain that lifestyle and maintain that, but that's it. No. You're not going to be able to grow it. You're not going to be able to, like, you know, make it, you could say a big company, right? You could probably put it that way. So my advice would be just stay focused. You know, don't let the shiny stuff distract you. And then once you start making the money, start looking how you could invest that money in something else. Property, or I don't know, right now crypto is pretty big for some people, or stocks, something that's gonna, you know, give you money back. Yeah, that's what you gotta do. And then once you get that going, later in life, then that's when you're gonna start enjoying the fruit of your hard work in the beginning. That would be my advice.
Alma?
That's great advice. Well,
however.
No, I think what I'm gonna say goes along with it, not against it at all. Don't forget about the people that you have around you, because if you treat people just like they just work for you and they should just be happy just because you give them a paycheck, you know, man, you're not making your life better and you're not making their life better. I would say if your plan is to have a business and your plan is to hire people, then don't forget that these people have the same desires and wants in life as you. They also want to be proud of what they're doing. They also care about what they're doing. They also want to grow. They also want to get better. And so don't just think that people are just replaceable. You can bring them in and out. Treat them as real human beings. Invest in them. Talk to them. And if you prioritize your people, then they will prioritize your clients. And you should do that as soon as possible. I can say that it took us a while to learn that because we messed it up at first, but I can pass that on as my biggest advice is don't forget that you're dealing with humans, with real emotions, with real thoughts, with real families, with real goals, and treat them as such.
That's a good advice.
Yeah, create a good company culture, that's for sure. If you're gonna start bringing employees on board, that's very important.
Care for them.
And care for them, yeah.
The culture is who you are, and what they're going to transpire to your customers. And without customers, there's no business. That's just the way that goes. Well, mi gente, thank you guys very much for being here, Mrs. Alma. Appreciate your time. Mr. Ulises, thank you, buddy, pal. I hope you guys enjoy this interview that we had with U&A and Urban City Insurance with Mrs. Alma and Mr. Ulises. So with that being said, mi gente, thank you so much for tuning in one more time. I'll see you guys into the next one.